All right, folks, you join me in the Model 3 today, and I don't really know what the purpose of this video is going to be, but I want to take this opportunity to kind of talk about sort of my experience with a semi-autonomous vehicle and just really where I think that the future of the automotive industry is going. You know, if you look at specifically EVs, there is obviously the push for autonomy, whether it is Tesla, whether it is, Hyundai Ioniq, whether it is Ford with their BlueCruise. Any EV that's out there, any new EV that's out there is in some level introducing semi-autonomous features. And there's different wide ranges of what that could be. But that could be, simply just lane centering on the highway. That could be full self-driving. That could be, even beyond where, you don't have to supervise at all and it's like the robotaxi or Waymo. So there are different levels of autonomy that's out there. And you're also seeing that, just panning back from electric vehicles, you're seeing that with legacy auto, with gas vehicles, hybrid vehicles. You're seeing that with, the Ford BlueCruise system isn't just locked to EVs. Chevy or GM's SuperCruise system isn't just locked to EVs. That's something that you can get on, virtually any new GM, any new Ford, in some capacity. Obviously, you'll probably have to go for a higher trim, things like that, but it's not just locked to the electric vehicle infrastructure. Now, where I think that we are heading in the direction of autonomy, just put on your tinfoil hats for a second and just imagine a future scenario with me. A future scenario where you need to, take a ride in a inner city that you've never been in before, and you need to use a ride-hailing service. You could use Uber, you could use Lyft, you could use other local systems that are out there, or you can use things like Waymo, you could use things like robotaxi. And with the cost of these systems, typically your robotaxi or Waymo is going to be less expensive. Why? Because of the electrification of the vehicles. It's going to be less to fuel the vehicle as far as, charging the vehicle, less electricity, cost of electricity versus gas. You're also going to find, less wear and tear on the vehicles. So the push for like Uber and Lyft on a gas vehicle is going to cost more because of the gas, but then also the drivers, in order for them to want to continue to use the service, to continue to work for the service, then they have to see some sort of a profit. Obviously, they're spending their own money to maintain their vehicle, to, pay for obviously the gas, and the upkeep for maintenance is going to be much more expensive on a gas vehicle versus an electric vehicle. So logically, from a business perspective, if they want to have drivers work for their service, then they have to price their service accordingly so that the drivers then see a profit. They then see a reason to drive for Uber or Lyft. And so with that, you're naturally always going to see Uber and Lyft cost more than cost more for a gas vehicle specifically than it would for an electric vehicle. Now, I'm sure maybe there's some dynamic pricing for Uber for a gas vehicle versus Uber for an electric vehicle. But generally what you're going to find is obviously electric is going to cost less to maintain and operate and everything like that. So let's say in this future scenario, you need a ride-hailing service, and of course you can go with an Uber or you can go with a Waymo. And with the cost being traditionally more with Uber or Lyft, then naturally you're going to want to go with a Waymo or a robotaxi. Unless you just particularly want a human driver or you particularly want a gas vehicle, then obviously you can do whatever you want. But traditionally for most people, they're just going to want to go with whatever's the least expensive option. So in this scenario, you're going to be going with a Waymo or a robotaxi. And so in this sort of scenario that I say is sort of a future scenario, but it's really sort of realistically happening right now. Look at Austin, Texas, look at San Francisco. Look at the areas where you're having these autonomous ride-hailing services. And so with that, you already have that sort of comfort of autonomy with a ride hailing service. With that, you're able to just get in. You know, if you're somebody that isn't very extroverted, then that might be perfect for you, because you don't have to talk to the driver. You don't have to feel any kind of social anxiety. You know, should I talk to this person? Is it rude for me to not talk to this person? So, you know, for the nuanced situation where you're an introvert, then you might love autonomy just for that reason alone of not having to worry about that. But take that aside, you also have just bought your time back. You've bought more time for you to be able to, you know, get some emails out from your phone, or, you know, catch up on some YouTube videos that were sent to you from a friend, or read a book, or, you know, do different things, or just like visually see the city that is around you. So there's a lot of different use cases for wanting an autonomous vehicle for a ride hailing service. Now you take that same situation, that same line of thinking into a regular vehicle that you daily operate. Well, you have the position of, with future software updates, things like that, where you can have an unsupervised system. Now you have the ability to go to work or go to the grocery store and not have to pay attention. We're not there yet right now, but in the near future, whenever that might be, that is very clearly, evidently what we are working towards. And so you have the ability to buy your time back. And yes, there is an additional cost with that. You can either, let's say with Tesla, you buy the full self-driving suite, and then you have, you know, you've paid for that up front, and so now you don't have a recurring cost there, but there's obviously that upfront cost. Or you have the recurring monthly subscription, and so you can choose to do that all the time. You can choose to do it some of the time that you want to, but however you choose to do it, you have the option to then take your commute time. Let's say you drive 45 minutes to an hour to work. Well, now it's not just 45 minutes to an hour to work of just sitting and staring at the road in front of you and having to pay attention. Not that driving is a laborious task or anything like that, but when you have the ability to have that 45 minutes to an hour back to yourself to do whatever you want, take a nap if you're tired, you know, do actual work in the car, so that way you don't have to, you know, do as much work in the office, or, you know, whatever's the case, or, you know, do FaceTime calls with friends, things like that. You have lots of different opportunities, you know, eat without having to worry about spilling the food in front of you, paying attention on the road, things like that. So you have all these different things that you can do that you currently can't do with a supervised system. Even FSD supervised, you should be paying attention. You shouldn't obviously be taking a nap, not that the car is going to let you, but you are required to pay attention. In this future where you have this autonomous sort of suite here, then you've just bought your time back, and that is an incredible value add, especially to the average person that, you know, has a 30-minute commute, has, you know, a long drive here and there, maybe has a road trip that they're going on, and maybe they have to take a day off of work, and they're in the middle of a very important project, but they have to take a road trip out to see family or something like that. You know, maybe there's a medical emergency, you know, 6 hours away or something like that. Well, now you don't have to take the day off of work, potentially lose pay, things like that. Now you're just able to continue working, and all that you're doing is you're working while you're moving. So there's that aspect of it, of sort of buying your time back, but then there's also the safety aspect of it. In this future, this, you know, prospective future, whenever it might be, you have the added safety of, with FSD supervised right now, I feel safer using FSD supervised than I would if I were solely in control, driving in a city that I've never been in, and I don't know the driving dynamics of the city. I don't know if this lane is going to end and become a turn-only lane and I need to go straight. I don't know if this road that I want to take is a one-way street, you know, a one-way lane, and, you know, I need to loop around a building to find the right direction to be able to go. So I feel safer using FSD supervised in the scenario where I'm just not familiar with the city. Even though I still have to pay attention, I just feel safer knowing that basically it's almost like I have an additional driver and I'm sort of the co-pilot in that situation, and I'm just basically making sure that nothing weird is happening, my car isn't doing something weird, and so I already feel safer from that aspect. Now you take it to an autonomous aspect where autonomy is using not only the satellite mapped roads, but also, you know, vision systems or LiDAR systems. It's using ultrasonic systems. It's using all of the different features, and obviously Tesla is going a different route and direction, but video isn't about Tesla full self-driving unsupervised. That's not the purpose of this video. This is a wide range of a video here. And so whatever is the system that is powering the autonomy is going to help not only the sole driver themselves that's using that system feel safer, but also if more people are using that, that's where you're going to be able to find a safer roadway. You know, that's where you're going to be able to find, in this weird, nuanced, you know, future situation where you have just a local city street and, you know, most of the cars, all of the cars are using autonomous features. A kid runs out in the street because they dropped their ball and they're not paying attention. Well, all of these cars, whether the driver is paying attention or not, can stop to obviously not hit the kid and basically keep going once the kid is moving. And so obviously that shouldn't happen. Obviously the kid shouldn't do that. But in these weird nuanced situations where just things happen that nobody wants, nobody calls for, and just life can happen, now we have elevated the safety aspect versus a human driver that is flawed. Humans need to blink. Humans need, you know, humans might drop something and instinctively need to pick it up. Whether or not a human should, you know, should be temporarily distracted or whatever's the case, you know, obviously if something happens where they hit a person, then it's the human driver's fault, right? But if you can prevent that entirely with an autonomous system, then that's where you're going to find that extra added layer of safety that, you know, even your most observant humans, you know, can potentially fall prey to. So there's lots of different use cases for the safety aspect. So I don't know what the purpose of this video is. I mean, obviously this is an EV channel where I talk about electric cars and ownership and everything like that, but autonomous vehicles play a major role in whatever kind of future that we could have. Autonomous vehicles, autonomy plays a role in the safety when you're driving. Autonomous vehicles play the role in the safety of others that you are interacting with, that you are driving around, or, you know, pedestrians and passersby, right? So there's so much overlap between electric vehicles and an autonomous future that I think it's a very exciting overlap. I think it's a very exciting future to look forward to. And I'd be curious what you think about this sort of crazy future scenario that we could be looking at. So very interested to hear what you think about that. And if you want a more normal video, definitely check out either one of these videos here on screen. And if you want more videos like this where it's just sort of looking ahead at the future and what we could be expecting, definitely let me know, because I like these sort of conversational videos. So I will catch you in the next video. Peace.